demographic information about Hawaii's coral reef fishes. And the original focus of our project was on the Potter's angelfish, but we've added a couple more species. The relevance of this sort of information to Hawaii Coral Reef Initiative's priorities is that we can use this information to evaluate the effectiveness of marine protected areas. And when we talk about evaluating effectiveness, I have to fine-tune what it is that we're trying to evaluate. These are a whole suite of proposed benefits for establishing marine protected areas. And we agree that most of those are absolutely true, but we want to take a closer look at this last item. Many publications about marine protected areas have a statement that says something like marine protected areas may enhance fishing in other areas. And we want to evaluate that statement. Now, when we talk about enhancement, Ross and I aren't concerned whether someone catches an occasional lunker on the boundaries of a marine protected area, big fish. That is a definition of enhancement by some people, but we're more concerned with our assumption that the goal of fishery management is to increase fish catch relative to what existed prior to the establishment of a marine reserve. Now, some of you might be thinking, why even bother to do this? Haven't there been numerous studies that demonstrate that the abundance or biomass of fishes inside marine protected areas increases after they've been established? And the answer is yes. And those sorts of results are consistent with the idea that fisheries are enhanced by marine protected areas. But here's the kicker. They're also consistent with the idea that marine protected areas don't enhance a fishery. What do I mean by that? When we say that biomass increases inside a marine protected area, this is the idea that comes to most people's minds, where you just have bigger fish inside a marine protected area. But imagine for a second that this is the marine protected area, and your high biomass is driven by lots of small individuals. If these individuals never reach a catchable size, you're not going to enhance a fishery. So, if you only take one message home with you today, I'm going to ask that it be this one. Anytime we go out and measure one of these single variables, we can't conclusively demonstrate that fisheries have been enhanced. Ross and I are suggesting that it takes combining those parameters, such as abundance, biomass, mortality, average sizes, things like that, into production estimates to evaluate whether a fishery is being enhanced. This slide should help to demonstrate a little bit more what I mean. Let's say you have a fishing ground and there's 30 individuals available to be caught. If you all of a sudden establish a marine reserve in the center of this fishing ground, you have the numbers of catchable individuals. To enhance a fishery, this population inside the marine reserve has to double its production to account for the loss of fishable habitat. And this production has to move into a fishable habitat in order to increase the fishery. If either of those two things don't happen, you're not going to enhance the fishery. Ross and I are only concentrating on this first one. We're not concerned with whether spillover happens. We're only evaluating whether you have the raw materials for spillover to increase potential catch. What I'm going to do now is show you how we calculate production in these marine reserves and fish areas. I'm not going to bombard you with a long list of individual parameters. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to how we came up with these parameters and then present the overall production estimate. Before I get going with that, I want to introduce our study species. All of these are exploited fishes. These two show up in people's aquariums. This one shows up on people's tables. Our original focus was on the Potter's angelfish because this is the #1 aquarium fish collected on Oahu. Our study sites are here, and this represents our best efforts at recreating a situation in which marine reserves are proposed to enhance fishing. We have Hanauma Bay over here, which has been closed to fishing for 40 years. And our comparison site is a nearby area occupying an equivalent area in Monterey Bay. And we chose this site because it's close to Hanauma Bay, and it has at least superficial similarities in terms of depth distribution and habitat distribution. We also know that the majority of Potter's angelfish collected on Oahu come from this general region, and this shore is very popular hook and line and spearfishing location. What did we need to do? This is just a flow chart showing you the information we collected and how it relates to biomass production estimates. We described size structure, and then used growth curves to turn the size structures into age structures. And from there, it's just a straightforward application of fishery mathematics to come up with mortality estimates. Combine this with abundance, and you can estimate biomass production. I'm going to give you an introduction, I hope, into some of the, or more detail into some of the techniques that we've used. So Ross and I use closed circuit rebreathers to swim transects, 2-meter wide belt transects. While one of us was busy counting all the fishes that we encountered on those transects for our abundance estimates, the other was operating a video camera fitted with 2 parallel laser beams. All we needed to do was tag the fish, and we superimposed the scale on its side. We measure the distance between these points and the apparent length of the fish, and because we know the distance between the lasers, then we can come up with a length estimate. Now, all of the calculations that I'm going to show you from here on in depend on the accuracy of those length estimates. So we went out and did a field validation study. And here I've just plotted the estimated lengths from laser videogrammetry and the actual length of the fish. This regression line shows that we were very close to a 1-to-1 relationship between estimated length and actual length. And our prediction interval suggests that we're within a ½ centimeter of actual fish size 95% of the time. So we're feeling really good about these length estimates. We had to describe growth. We did this using otoliths, which are durable structures found in the inner ear of fishes. And if you prepare these things properly, you see a series of concentric rings around the central core. So just like aging a tree, if we count these rings, we can come up with an age estimate for the fish. All we needed to do then was plot the size of the fish versus its age, and we come up with growth curves such as these. And this one was for the Potter's angelfish. We can use these growth curves then to convert our size estimates into age estimates. And from there, we take those age estimates, take the natural log of the numbers of individuals in each age class, plot it against age, and it's the negative slope of this regression line that gives us mortality estimates. What we did then was to combine all of those parameters I've told you about into a Ricker production model. And we wanted to see whether biomass production doubled in the marine reserve relative to what we were seeing in the fish area. Our estimates are for number of kilograms produced per year. And we found lower values in the marine reserve for the angelfish, for the damselfish, and for the goatfish. In fact, in some cases it looks like biomass production might be 7 3/4 times higher in the fish area. Now this is clearly not what we're expecting if this marine reserve is going to enhance the fishery on these three species. This isn't the end of the story though. Another option or another possibility is that reproductive output inside the marine reserve would be so much higher that we would have a source of new recruits for the next generation, and you could enhance fisheries that way. So Ross and I wanted to look at egg production. We did that using the same data on abundance and size structure that I've told you about already. And then we just needed to add information on batch fecundity, or the number of eggs spawned by a female each time she reproduces. All we needed to do for this one was examine ovaries of those females and count the number of mature eggs. We plot the number of mature eggs versus size and come up with a curve such as this. And much like for other fishes, we found that as you get larger fish, and for any of the three species, they produce more eggs. But when we started combining those into the egg production estimates, it turned out that they were lower in the marine reserve again for all three species. Again, this is not what we're going to be expecting with this reserve. It's going to be enhancing the fishery. So, where does that leave us?